This is not hyperbole, what I'm going to say, but this is real. This is how McCarthyism got started.
Right.
This is how it got started. Everyone was looking for communists, and you couldn't even explore what communism was. Like, you couldn't be confused. Like, if I read a book today, like I've got a book over there by Michael Malice on North Korea. If I read a book on North Korea, like, well, what's going on in North Korea? People wouldn't be like, Joe Rogan's a North Korean supporter. He wants to move to North Korea. He wants us all to be under a communist dictatorship run by Kim Jong-un. Like, you wouldn't say that, right? Well, back then, you would. Mm-hmm. Back then, during the McCarthy era, like, if you started reading like communist newsletters or you started going to a meeting, like, what is this all about? You could get shamed, run out of Hollywood, and it was a giant issue. And people were ratting on people, and they were doing it for the same reasons. They did not want to be lumped in with this group, so they would immediately turn people in. They were turning in their neighbors. It was like a scary time where people were looking for the communists. Everyone was looking for the dirty Red Scare. You know, they were going to come and infiltrate our world. It's very similar because it's a mindset. This mindset of not looking at things objectively, but having everything boxed into these very convenient packages. And this is one of them, that diversity is of the utmost importance, and that anything that does not challenge that idea, or anything that does not support that idea, rather, is racist.
Yeah, and that was sort of what I was trying to say when I said demoralize diversity, because, you know, we've just put it on such a pedestal, and we've stopped looking at the costs and benefits of it, and we've just started looking for villains, you know, all the racists, and we just want to punish those villains and label anyone that disagrees with any of the precepts of diversity as some sort of evil person.
Well, it's just a foolish approach, especially the approach of making Asian people get higher scores. That is so racist. Like, yeah, they study harder and do better. What's the reason? I don't know. But whatever the reason is, they do it. I mean, is it cultural? Probably. Is it biological? I don't know. But whatever reason it is, the correct response to that is not make Asians get higher scores. That's fucking insane.
Yeah,
I mean, that's super racist. You know? I mean, how racist is that? That's crazy. Like, why are they? I mean, and they're a minority, which is even weirder. But it's somehow or another that one is like, we let that one slide. Because we know they don't complain and they kick ass and they go and study hard. So for some reason, we like let that one slip.
Yeah, and a lot of this has some really nefarious history where the beginnings of just, you know, we used to just have tests and then that would be how you got into Harvard, for example, and whoever has the highest score would get in. But then they saw, oh, there's too many Jewish people getting in, and so they started adding all of this, oh, let's look at your extracurriculars and let's make it more subjective on who we get in. And that way they could discriminate against Jewish people, really.
So that's how it started?
Yeah, and this was like early 1900s.
Wow. Well, yeah, there's another one. There's a disproportionate amount of European Jews that are Nobel Prize winners.
Right.
Why? Well, they're fucking smart. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean that we're prejudiced against Irish people? No. What does it mean? Well, whatever it means, the end result is what's significant. We're not stopping other people from taking these tests, right? Mm-hmm. If you get a disproportionate amount of European Jews, there should be some sort of study, and there has been, but there should be some sort of studies as to what is it culturally? Mm-hmm. Like, what is the significance? Like, what has happened in the past that led this one group of people to be extraordinarily successful in one area? Well, that's what we should study. We shouldn't try to keep Jewish people out. That's fucking insane. And it's racist. And I think Asian people are not complaining the same way other folks would, you know, with this the same exact issue, you know? I mean, it's essentially a reverse affirmative action sort of a situation. Really weird.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, especially since many of these are just first generation immigrants. They don't feel like they necessarily have the power to really stand up to some of this.
Do you have very many Asian friends? Have you ever been around like really strict Asian households?
Yeah, I mean, the culture is definitely different, and there's
Dude.
a higher priority on school and more traditional values.
I had a good buddy of mine when I was young who was Korean, and he was in medical school. And his parents were brutal. I mean, they just
Right.
wanted A's across the board, no fucking excuses. You will study until your hands bleed. And, you know, there was just this sort of culture of success
Right.
in that household and of work, hard work and work ethic. And, you know, the family's idea was like, look, we came over to America from South Korea so that you could kick ass, period. You're not going
Right.
to come over here and fuck off. And obviously he was a fucking straight A student and just a wizard. I mean, this dude was just always awesome at everything and always working really hard, but he was completely stressed out all the time. Like
Yeah.
every time you'd see him, he was like, but just getting everything done. But I mean, it's the culture that he grew up in. So to discriminate against that guy and say, well, you work too hard. Hey, Jungshik, you can't, you know, your scores are a little bit too high. We don't like it. So we're gonna need a higher threshold for you. That's racist.
Yeah,
right?
and there's nothing that they can do. I mean, you can't work harder, and
No. No, it's stupid. It's like saying to athletes, like certain athletes, oh, well, you know, you've been training too hard. And so we're gonna need a faster 40-yard dash from you than a regular person to get on the team. You would never say that. You would say,
Yeah.
well, this guy's obviously super dedicated and gifted. This is the guy we want on our team. And that's the one thing where I feel like we don't see a lot of this stuff. You know, we like results when it comes to athletics, when it comes to things like what's your number, like what is the fastest you can run, how high can you jump, what's the pole vault that you do, you know, how far do you throw a discus, all those things, like very clear. Those are very clear numbers. You can't do that same sort of approach that you're doing with academics or with industry. You can't do that approach when it comes to athletics. It's, I mean, I'm not suggesting that the whole world is a sport, but I mean, when it comes to things like scores and keeping people out and letting people in and trying to push, you know, to get more people of a certain color or ethnicity in, like you're doing some slippery work, man. You know, that it gets real weird when you start doing that.
yeah, and it's all about leveling the outcomes of
Yeah.
people, and and there's this scary Kurt Vonnegut short story where, you know, if you're really smart, then you'll have to wear headphones that just beep all the time. If you're beautiful, you'll have to wear a mask in the future.
Yeah.
If you're strong, you'll have to have all these weights on you.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's sort of getting there. It's the same sort of ideology, and it's scary.
Yeah. Well, life is not fair.
Right.
It is just not. No one wants to hear that. And this is really the core issue for all of this stuff. Life is not fair. There are people that are so much fucking smarter than me that when I talk to them, I feel like some sort of a monkey. You know, it's just there's no getting around that. There are people that are so much bigger than me. When I stand next to them, I feel like a child. You know, there's just no getting around that. That's just the way of the world. And I think the key is, I mean, I guess with a company, is to try to figure out how to manage all of these unfair aspects of being a biological entity in a civilization. And I don't think Google's doing the right job by firing you for promoting science.